If you thought you understood the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, wait until you see what was happening behind the camera. From near walkouts to real injuries, explosive malfunctions, method acting meltdowns, and an ending too dark for theaters, these hidden facts reveal a production far more chaotic than anything Panem showed you on screen. 1. Rachel Zegler nearly quit the film. Before shooting began, before a single camera rolled, the entire production nearly fell apart from a contract dispute. Rachel Zegler, the face of the entire story, revealed she was being paid so little she could not afford to live abroad while filming. She openly admitted she was prepared to walk away. For a franchise depending on her star power, losing her would have destroyed the schedule, the story structure, and every marketing plan built around Lucy Gray. When fans found out, backlash exploded across social media. Hashtags trended, YouTubers called out Lionsgate, and articles accused the studio of disrespecting its lead actress. Within days, Lionsgate renegotiated, increasing her pay and covering her accommodations. Only then did Zegler return to the project. The entire resurgence of the Hunger Games franchise almost collapsed over one paycheck. But securing the lead actress was only the beginning, because the challenges waiting on set pushed the cast far deeper than Hollywood expected. 2. Tom Blyth trained in real military boot camps to become young Snow. Tom Blyth did not approach young Coriolanus Snow as a simple villain. He approached him as a soldier shaped by discipline and fear. To capture that transformation, production enrolled him in a brutal military-style boot camp run by former soldiers. These instructors drilled him daily on weapon handling, combat formations, posture, marching cadence, and command presence. He learned how to reload under pressure, how to keep his shoulders rigid even when exhausted, and how to move with predatory calm. Crew members said the training changed him physically and psychologically. His walk became sharper, his stare became colder. Even the way he stood still looked authoritative, as if Snow was already calculating survival strategies. Blythe insisted that this training was essential to play a young man quietly preparing for corruption. He wanted Snow to look like he could command a room long before he commanded a nation. Yet, while Blythe reshaped himself through military discipline, one co-star transformed the entire movie through something far more chilling and unexpected. 3. Viola Davis designed parts of Dr. Gall's torture lab. Herself, Viola Davis did not simply portray Dr. Volumnia Gall, she built her world from the inside out. During early production meetings, Davis asked to help shape the aesthetics of Gall's laboratory. She brought research notes, psychological studies, and grotesque visual references to make the lab feel institutional yet unhinged. Several props came directly from her suggestions, including surgical instruments inspired by mind control experiments and environmental elements designed to discomfort the viewer. The director trusted her instincts so much that he allowed her to rewrite several of her own lines to make Gall sound colder, more intellectual, and more frighteningly curious. Davis treated Gall as a scientist who enjoyed observing fear as data, and her rewrites reflected that disturbing psychology. Crew members reported feeling unsettled whenever Davis stepped into the room fully in character. But even Davis's haunting creative influence could not overshadow the next shocking truth, because the arena itself was built in a place far more dangerous than most fans realize. 4. The arena was based on real abandoned factories in Poland. Instead of building a safe, controlled arena from scratch, the production team searched Poland for abandoned industrial zones that survived World War II bombings. They found massive factories with rusted beams, broken concrete, floors, collapsing staircases, and water-stained walls untouched for decades. These locations were chosen because their decay looked too authentic to replicate artificially. Production designers reinforced only the bare minimum needed for safety. Everything else, the mold, the cracked structures, the rusted machinery, was real history. Many shots required actors to navigate broken floors and dodge rusted metal fragments, all while maintaining character. The oppressive atmosphere on camera is not CGI. It is the feeling of standing inside a building older than the actors themselves, built during a war that left permanent scars. Even the air inside the factories carried a faint metallic smell, adding natural tension to every scene filmed there. Cast members later said they could feel the weight of the past in every step they took, and that sense of decay became frighteningly real when the environment fought back and caused one of the production's most painful accidents. 5. Rachel Zegler was injured after falling through a weak floorboard. During a rehearsal inside the abandoned arena, Zegler stepped forward onto what appeared to be a solid walkway. But decades-old wood does not follow Hollywood schedules. A rotted plank cracked instantly, dropping her leg through the flooring and sending her crashing sideways. She hit her shin hard on the jagged edge, bruising it badly enough to swell within minutes. Crew members rushed in, terrified that she had been seriously hurt. Zegler tried to downplay it, insisting she could continue, but she limped visibly through the rest of rehearsal. The accident forced the team to halt production while carpenters reinforced every catwalk with steel plates. From that moment on, crew members stomped each board with heavy boots before allowing actors to step foot anywhere near the structure. Despite the pain, Zegler returned to filming immediately, adding a raw physical vulnerability to scenes shot during those days, an authenticity born from real injury rather than performance. But physical danger was only the surface, because the emotional intensity demanded next would push the entire cast even deeper into the darkness of Panem 6. The hanging scene forced actors into real panic. The hanging sequence may last only moments on screen, but filming it became one of the most emotionally draining days of the entire production. Actors were strapped into stunt harnesses designed to simulate tension on the neck and upper chest. These harnesses were safe, but deliberately restrictive. When the actors lifted their feet, the pressure on the ribs made breathing shallow, intensifying the realism. The director told them to struggle exactly as real prisoners would, to capture the fear, confusion, and desperation of Panem's executions. Even though everyone knew it was staged, the psychological impact hit harder than expected. Several extras began shaking as soon as the harnesses pulled tight. A few cried the moment the scene wrapped, releasing fear they didn't realize they were holding. One performer later said, "It felt too real. I knew I was safe, but my body thought I was dying." The atmosphere on set stayed heavy for hours afterward, with cast and crew speaking quietly, as if the room itself was still holding its breath. But as the actors recovered from that intensity, another terrifying complication was developing quietly behind the camera crew. 7. The snakes were partially real before CGI enhancement. Before the digital teams created the venomous rainbow serpents of the arena, the production filmed real snakes to capture authentic skin texture, sliding motion, and optical reflections. Professional handlers brought multiple species, including albino pythons, into the studio under strict safety supervision. These snakes were considered harmless for actors, but they were still unpredictable. Under hot lights, several snakes became restless, thrashing or attempting to escape handlers' arms, forcing the crew to pause frequently. Rachel Zegler refused to enter the stage on days when the real snakes were present. She made it clear she would only appear once the reptiles were secured or swapped with rubber stand-ins. Even Sam Claflin, who handled creatures comfortably in previous roles, stayed cautious, keeping distance and avoiding sudden movement around the reptiles. The footage of the snakes slithering across props and sets was later merged with CGI to create the arena's deadly swarm, but the on-set tension was completely real. Crew members said the sound of snakes hissing in a dark studio stayed with them for days. Yet all the reptile anxiety was nothing compared to the next disaster, which nearly brought production to a full emergency halt. 8. A smoke machine explosion. Shut down filming for a day. The arena's fog sequences relied on the industrial fog machines capable of pumping dense smoke through long hoses. During one setup, a high-pressure line inside one of the machines ruptured. The burst triggered a small explosion that sent fragments of the internal casing flying across the room. Two crew members standing nearby dropped to the floor as metal pieces flew over their heads. The blast echoed through the studio so loudly that actors in the next room thought a stunt explosion had misfired. Fire marshals rushed in, forced an immediate evacuation, and required a full safety inspection before filming could continue. To make matters worse, the fog from the ruptured line billowed into the arena, covering the set in a chemical cloud so thick visibility dropped to zero. Everyone had to leave coughing, rubbing their eyes, and shielding their faces with their sleeves. Production lost nearly an entire day, while electricians, effects experts, and safety officers rebuilt and tested every fog line. The director later said it was one of the closest calls of the entire production, a reminder that even controlled environments carry risks. But even explosions could not overshadow the next shock, a performer whose dedication blurred the line between character and reality. 9. Peter Dinklage stayed in character as Casca Highbottom off-camera. Peter Dinklage is known for intensity, but his approach to Casca Highbottom took the cast by surprise. He adopted Highbottom's bitter, exhausted, hollow demeanor even during breaks. Crew members whispered that it felt like walking past a man haunted by ghosts. He spoke little, rarely smiled, and avoided unnecessary interactions. When he did speak, he used Highbottom's sharp tone, often pacing slowly with a drink in hand, just like his character. Dinklage improvised several of Highbottom's most hostile lines, pushing the character deeper into moral decay. Some of these improvised moments were so brutally honest that they instantly made it into the final script. Other actors adjusted their performances to match Dinklage's sudden intensity, especially in scenes where Snow absorbs Highbottom's bitterness like a twisted lesson. One crew member said, "It felt like he carried a burden the whole time. You couldn't tell where Peter ended and Highbottom began." His method approach gave the film its most chilling authority figure, shaping Snow's descent with emotional accuracy that could not have been faked. And all that intensity paved the way for a final twist that stunned even longtime fans of Panem's darkest stories. 10. The film's ending originally had a much darker twist. Early drafts of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes included a final act far bleaker than what audiences saw. The original script reportedly had Snow committing one more major murder, a direct killing of a character crucial to his psychological unraveling. This darker ending emphasized Snow's transformation into a full sociopathic leader, showing him severing the last thread of his humanity. When test audiences watched the early cut, the room fell silent, not emotional silence, but uncomfortable disbelief. Some viewers said the ending left them feeling punched in the chest. Others said it was too bleak, even for the famously grim tone of The Hunger Games. Lionsgate executives worried that releasing such an ending could alienate younger audiences and overshadow the film's thematic buildup. The final theatrical ending was rewritten to focus on psychological collapse rather than overt violence. Instead of a brutal final act, the movie ends with Snow slipping into cold ambition, allowing viewers to imagine his future ruthlessness without witnessing every step of it explicitly. The result is quieter, but arguably more chilling. And once you know all these behind-the-scenes secrets, the film becomes far darker and far more haunting than anything the Capitol ever intended. If this breakdown shocked you even a little, hit subscribe so you never miss the next deep dive.